What up, everybody? How y'all doing? This is episode 75 of Sucio Sports, presented by Gel Blasters and Inplay Dogs. Inplay Dogs, Gel Blasters, two sponsors. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Thank y'all. Good looking out for the support and everything else. Um, Before I get too much into it, let me hit my theme music. Yeah, episode 75 of Sucio Sports, presented by Gel Blasters and Inplay Dogs, man. Appreciate y'all joining in, tuning in with us. Don't want to play that too long because I don't want to get in trouble or nothing. Anyway, man, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Um, it's been a week, man. It's been a crazy week. Uh, Things happen like be life and stuff be going on, but we are here. And I'm so glad to be back with y'all for episode 75. It's kind of a milestone episode for us. Key should be joining in a minute. Hoping he wake up. Sometimes my boy be with his work schedule and stuff, he'll crash and just be like, I'll be like, bro, don't even worry about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's how it be sometimes. What up, Dre? What up, fam? Um, yeah, but we here, episode 75 of Sucio Sports, presented by Gel Blasters and Play Dogs. Um, I'm sitting here watching Celtics Knicks right now, and something told me to put money on the Celtics winning this game because they have a really good record without Jason Tatum in the lineup for whatever reason, however that ends up. Call it what you want. I don't try to place too huge of a label or anything like that on it. And I don't try to read too much into it. Drake Knicks can't close. Listen, that does feed into it because I guarantee you, in the recesses of their minds, you can't tell me that they weren't thinking about this. Like, hey, we got them while they down. We got them while they're weak. Um, they don't have Tatum. They don't have their leader, their leading scorer. I mean, he was leading them in points, rebounds, and assists, I believe, this postseason. So and plus he's an adequate defender, a long rangier guy. Pause. Um, that just, I mean, he presents problem on the defensive end when he's dedicated and focused on that end. Typical Nick. I won't even blame it. You could say that, but it's just I like see like a simple double screen backdoor cut on the weak side of the play, and they just fall asleep on defense and gave up an easy layup. It's stuff like that happens that I'm always like, hey, yo, there's more to it than just, them being them or chalking it up to this, that, and the third. So this is what you get when you don't close the team out. When you got them in a weakened state and you commit so many mental errors that you basically shoot yourself in the foot. And that's exactly what happened to the Knicks. They just basically shot themselves in the foot this game because, you could say it's the shooting percentage. You could say it's, the you can't even say it's the free throws because the Knicks have actually taken and made more free throws than the Celtics have. There's not a huge rebounding differential. There's not a huge turnover differential. Um,
and the Celtics have actually had more fouls called on them than the Knicks. So a lot of the times, the things that people you'll tend to point to, like a statistic anomaly or different statistics and whatnot, you say, okay, that's where I see where the game was lost. You don't always see that. It don't always show up in the stat sheet. And really, it's just the Knicks couldn't buy a bucket because the Celtics were more intent and more focused on defense this game. And they took good shots. They spread the ball around, and it seems almost as if, like when they don't have Tatum on the floor, to just lose observation from me, it just seems as if there's not as much pressure to concentrate the offense to go through Tatum or for him to be the primary ball handler. The ball gets swung around, shared pretty evenly. And I mean, not saying that it doesn't when Tatum is in the game. It's just that you got guys that basically stepped up tonight for the Celtics, and they took on a lot of that extra scoring role. When you lose, 25, 30 points a game, you need guys to step up. Like Derek White with 34 tonight. He stepped up big time. Um, Porzingis is still like, I swear. So I saw somebody tweet a little while ago. I can't remember who it was, and I wish I could remember so I can give him credit. But someone said a little while ago, I saw on Twitter, that whatever flu he had must have been designed by the Monstars because it totally took away his ability to play basketball. And that's the only thing that I could think of, man. Because how else do you explain how this guy gets sick with some mysterious virus or whatever, and it lingers? Not only does it linger, but like he just seemingly like he can't function. Like I could see if your energy is drained, but you're still like mentally sharp. That's different. Like if you have an injury or something like a knee or an ankle or a shoulder or something like that, and you're physically impaired, but your brain is still working. Like, did it just totally like take his basketball IQ away? Did it take away his will to like even try or whatever? I understand the lack of energy and whatnot, but to me, just to be a total non-factor. I mean, he only played 12 minutes, but still, like, bro was a total non-factor tonight. Like, just and I mean, thank God that they weren't relying on him because I mean he had he's the only person in the starting lineup that had a negative plus minus this game. Let's just put it to you like that. So anytime you're the only starter with a negative plus minus in a game where everybody else was what 11, at least 11 plus 11, the other three starters were over 20, 23, 26, and 28, they're plus minus for the game. So I'm just saying, man, like there's a lot to digest, a lot to look into the reason why the Knicks did not close this game out. Hopefully for Knicks fans, they'll close it out game 6 in the Garden. But if the Celtics are playing like this, playing more determined on defense and taking better shots, swinging the ball, sharing the ball around on offense, they're going to be a tough team to beat even in game 6 because, like I said, it's almost as if they play better without Tatum in the lineup because there's not that pressure to perform and that pressure to run everything through that one guy. So next up, we're gonna have the Warriors and the Timberwolves tipping off shortly. They should have tipped off already, but they're holding that game off until the conclusion of this Knicks Celtics game, which they might as well just switch it over because it's a damn near 30-point game with less than a minute left. So let's just move on to the next, if you will. We're gonna see if the Wolves can close it out tonight against the Warriors. That closeout game is more than likely to happen simply because I believe that the Warriors, they without Steph, they don't necessarily play better. They can play without Steph, and they've proven that they can win without Steph, but they're not necessarily a team that plays better without their top guy in the lineup. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm expecting Minnesota to go ahead and close that game out, and that'll go ahead and give us a pretty much the Wolves, and I'm looking at probably like the Nuggets are going to. I mean, I'm sorry, the Thunder are going to pull that series out against the Nuggets. So we may get OKC and Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals, and then we're probably going to get the Knicks and against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals since the Pacers closed out the Cavs last night. I feel so bad for Donovan Mitchell, man. The way he the way he sounded in that post game presser, it was rough, man. It was rough to hear him sound just so defeated and so just dejected and just down on his team and the city and the media and everything, and talking about how they're going to write badly about them and talk badly about them. And I mean, rightfully so, because, when you're up by 20 and then you blow like double digit leads constantly, you should get talked about bad. However, the one saving grace I will say for for the Cavs, is they got hit with the injury bug at the worst possible time they could have. When a team is basically the best team in their conference all year long, pillar to post, pretty much number one seed in the East, and they were number one seed in the East by a few games. It wasn't like it was even like it wasn't. I mean, it was kind of close, but it wasn't like as runaway as the Thunder did, as OKC did in the West. With like 8-10 game lead or whatever. But Cavs were clearly the best team in the East this year, and they could not find a way to overcome the injuries and take out the Pacers. Also, the Pacers are a much better team than what most people give them credit for. And Tyrese Halliburton has really been on a tear. And if you haven't recognized this kid's talent yet, it's time for you to do so, because I'm just saying, whether you like their personalities or not, you have to respect their play. And that's the biggest thing that I tell people all the time when, it's popular to hate on LeBron. It's popular to hate on certain players and whatnot. But one thing I always will maintain is, like, I can listen to somebody hate on these players or people or what have you, but there has to be a certain level of respect that you have to give them, because they're great players. Just call it for what it is. Call it spade a spade. They're great players. So you can't sit up here and tell me, like, oh, LeBron only compiled all those stats because he stayed in the league this long, or no, you can't tell me that a guy this good. I had to turn on my light. I didn't even realize it wasn't even on. But you can't be this good for that long. And I'm just saying, like, it's time to sometimes it's time to just give people props. And the person that I always bring up when this happens is Karl Malone. When I was coming up, Karl Malone was one of those guys I didn't really like him for whatever. And it's mainly because my mom loved him. Thought he was great. Him and John Stockton, she loved Karl Malone, right? I was like, well, I don't like him. Because naturally, I'm going to heel off on whoever that they like. Even as a little kid, I was always like that. But I respected him because I'm like, you know what? Dude came into the league with a certain set of skills, and he was a big body guy and a terrible free throw shooter. I'm talking about terrible, like Ben Wallace, Shaq levels of free throw shooting. By the end of his career, he was 75, 80 or so percent from the line, and he always had that little mid-range jump. So that pick and roll and pick and pop that him and Stockton did, and rode it all the way to Stockton being the number one assist guy in league history, like, a lot of that was because Malone could do that pick and pop or pick and roll extremely effectively. I didn't like him, but I respected him as a player. Same thing with, like, the Bad Boys Pistons, because they beat up on Jordan. I didn't like the fact that they beat up on my favorite player, but I respected them because they were a no-nonsense, hard-nosed defensive type of team that wouldn't back down from anybody. I didn't like Larry Bird and the Celtics because they would give Magic and Lakers fits. But I respected those guys because they were great players. So I say all that to say, like, you don't have to like somebody or like their personalities or their dealings or whatever. But on that 94 by 53, when they're putting in work and they're doing what they're doing, you have to give them a certain level of respect. And just me personally, I'm not going to tolerate the foolishness or anything like that. That's why a lot of the times I don't go in public places and speak about sports and things like that very often because I don't want to get into a back and forth with somebody because a lot of the times people don't want to admit that their opinions are based off feelings that they have personally that they don't like this person, or there may be certain things about them like whatever that they don't care for, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you have that same energy for X, Y, and Z who does something similar? So I'm just saying, it's a lot of times I will call people on their shit, and then they don't like that, and they try to flip it around on me, and it's like, nah. Like, my grandmother always told me she thinks I should have been a lawyer or a doctor because I don't like losing debates or arguments back and forth. I will always come up with something, uh, and I always like roast stuff. Vin thinks I should have been a cook. Um, Bro, I was supposed to cook today and realized I didn't have everything I needed. I had to go back to the store, and then I came back home, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do this tomorrow. I'm gonna have to do this tomorrow. I'm sorry, I just have to do it tomorrow because I'm tired, and it was just I don't know. I'll cook tomorrow, but yeah, I got some steaks marinating in the fridge, and I don't know if I'm gonna probably do steak and potatoes, or I was supposed to do shrimp fried rice because HEB has these little it's like this Chinese food like chicken, like they have the sauce and everything, and you warm up the chicken and you dip it in the sauce and stuff, and you got like General Tso's orange chicken or sesame chicken or whatever. So I was gonna do that, like with some make some homemade shrimp fried rice. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do the steaks. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I don't. It was something else I was missing for the steaks or whatever. So I was like, shit, nah, I can't do that either. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, yeah. Let me know if you come down to Texas, man. Matter of fact, I gotta hit up the homie Banks. I gotta hit up Banks. I know Banks out here too. Get all that straightened out, taken care of, and whatnot. But yeah, man, NBA playoffs have been great, and I'm loving it so far. Um, let's see if the Wolves can close out the Warriors tonight, and then want to say we got tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we get the Thunder Nuggets to see if they'll close that game out, and then Friday we'll see if the Knicks can finally close out the Celtics. So if the Thunder can close out the Nuggets tomorrow night and the Knicks can close out the Celtics Friday, we'll be on to the conference finals. But I mean, hey man, let's just see how it plays out. I remember last year we were thinking that some of the veteran teams that were towards the bottom of the playoff bracket could upset some of those older teams and end up not going that way, kind of going that way, but not really. But one thing I will say, I'm really interested in looking forward to this, just to see how this Knicks Celtics series plays out. Because if the Celtics keep playing with their hair on fire like this without Jason Tatum, they're going to present the Knicks a real problem. And the Knicks have to get their head in it. And I think that them going back home to New York to play in the Garden for that Game 6 to have the second chance at closing out the series after getting beat up like this in Game 5 when they had the series when they had Boston on the ropes, I think that's going to be a wake up call for those guys. And I know Tibbs is not going to stand for them having lackluster effort 2 games in a row. Like, he just that ain't how Tibbs rolls. So we'll see how that goes, man. But I'll keep an eye on this Warriors Wolves game for y'all tonight. Keep y'all posted on that. But still no MVP. I don't know when they're supposed to do the MVP announcement. I still have not figured that out yet. Anywho, Jason Tatum with that torn Achilles, he actually tore the Achilles on Monday and had surgery, I believe, yesterday or today or something like that. So they wasted absolutely no time in getting his surgery done and taken care of. I know I've heard of some people where they have to wait before they have some surgeries, especially like ACLs, PCLs, and things like that, to wait for the swelling to go down. So that way, when they go in, they can actually go in and like fix everything the way they're supposed to. But I'm glad he was able to have the surgery ASAP. That's just gonna quicken his recovery time. And also, I'm just looking forward to kind of seeing uh, just the way the way people respond to these playoffs. Because if we do end up getting, Thunder Timberwolves and Knicks Pacers in the conference finals, you're looking at the biggest TV market against some of the smallest TV markets, right? And typically, the league and the TV people, they want the bigger markets with the fan bases that travel and whatnot. They want those teams involved because that brings bigger ratings. However, I'm interested to see if this doesn't play out a little bit differently. If we'll get like more interest simply because it's some young and up and coming stars on these teams that where these smaller market teams are. And there goes the other Dre, Dr. Dre on 290. Really, we need to start calling him Dr. Dre on 45 because that's his main little route right there. But or Dr. Dre on 59 actually. That's what I'm gonna start calling. If you know the highways and whatnot in the Houston area, then you'll know exactly why I'm teasing him about that. Anyway, but yeah, man. I think that we'll have more interest in these finals. See, he knew exactly what I was talking about. That's why that's why he laughing. Hey, if you follow at Dre on 290 on Twitter, Dre drives for a living, and he'll post a pic of him like driving back and forth on the highway or whatever, and it's always this really cool shot of, like downtown Houston, the skyline and whatnot. Depending on when he passing through there, it's typically a really dope pick. But like I was saying, I think that there's going to be more interest in it because you got guys like a SGA and Anthony Edwards for the Wolves and the Thunder. With those two teams, those two hot young stars, and they're tearing the league up right now. And the interest is there in those guys and stars. And then you have a Halliburton who had the controversy with his dad and Giannis and everything when they closed that first round series out. And you're seeing him, lead his team over the number one seeded Cavs. And the kid has been like, this isn't a breakout performance because he's been doing this the last 3 years or so. So it's not like this is something new to him. He's been doing this. As a matter of fact, he has the most 20-point, 10 assist playoff games in Pacer history. And you look at the history of that franchise, and you would think like, Mark Jackson, Reggie Miller, maybe not even Rick Smits. None of these guys ever had, a bunch of 2010 playoff games. Nope. Tyrese Halliburton leads them all. And I want to say it's only like 3 or 4. But he has the most in team playoff history. So props to him on that, man. Again, just giving these young guys their props because a lot of the times people don't always give these kids their props. And it's the perception that the older players that are, especially the ones that are in media and some of the older media guys, hate on the younger generation. And just to address that real quick, like I think that there is some of that where these guys do have that old man get off my lawn hating, mentality thing that they'll do. But I also think that they may not like the way the game is just being played right now. And I mean, you can't sit up here and tell me that you look at something the way it used to be, and then you look at the way it is now, and it's something that you don't like. Not everything changes, everything evolves. Sometimes there's going to be changes and evolution that, you know what I'm saying, that you're going to like. You're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I like this. I like the way this is now. I like the way this is done now, or the way this is cooked now, or whatever it is. And I say cooking because Vin brought up, me liking to cook and got me talking about food again. And I'm sitting here hungry. I got my little leftover cheeseburger from lunch that I didn't even finish eating. But like things change, things evolve, and you got to know how to roll with the punches and run with the times and whatnot, man. So I just think that sometimes they may have an issue with the way the game is being played, and I do take issue with some of that because I just feel like you know there's way too many threes being taken, especially by guys who can't shoot them. That's one of them. There's also way too much flopping and whatnot. There's a lot of, and I'm glad that the league has called things into place to regulate that. I don't like the whole the judgment call of the landing spot for the shooter. I get while that rule is in place, but I think sometimes it's so subjective that some refs will call it the way it's supposed to be called, and some will it'll be a borderline call whether or not it should have been called or not. But it's just stuff like that that evolution is a mystery. Shout out to JT. Shout out to Marshall Mikes, man. Tune in. I think the boys going live tomorrow, like around 9, I think my time, around 10 Eastern time, if I'm not mistaken. But double check them, follow them on Twitter as well. At Marks with Mikes. Just the way it's spelled there, just put an at symbol in front of it and put it all together and follow them. Love doing their pod, man. I got to get them guys on or something one day. We got to collab again soon. But yeah, like I just feel like things change and they evolve, and you may not always like it, and that's okay. And it's one thing to not like the way something is done or like the way how something is going or presented, what have you. But it's another thing just to like outright just hate shit on stuff. There's a fine line that you have to walk there, because I can talk about the game and say what I like and what I don't like about the way the game is being played nowadays without shitting on anybody or hating on anybody. Like, perfect example. Made sure I bring this up because I don't think she coming downstairs making an appearance on tonight's podcast. She probably upstairs asleep because my daughter had a long day at work. But Maddie said that the Cavs were regular season demons. She's been saying this all year long, and I was like, Maddie, I just think you hating at this point because it's like they the best team in the East. What are you doing? You can't. And she's a Celtics fan, so of course like they regular season demons. They can't do it. They got to prove it in the playoffs. They got to prove it in the playoffs. And she's been saying that consistently all year, and so I have to give her props. She called it. But like I told her, I was like, look, I think you're rooting for the Celtics. You're on the Celtics bandwagon these last couple of years or whatever. Okay, whatever. I said, but they got hit with the injury bug at the worst possible time. Worst possible time. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have made it all the way to the finals, and they got hit with the injury bug. But they got hit with the injury bug in the playoffs. So, and it ended up costing them, I think, a great deal. But I told her, I was like, you went from like calling it how you said you kind of sound like you was hate. I said, but you end up proving correct. I said, but the only reason why you were proven correct is because, hey, bet. One of these nights, yeah, we're gonna definitely do it again. For real. But nah, man, like I just feel like there's that fine line that people will walk between hating and having a negative opinion of something. And it's all depending on how you present. And like I said, I can say what I like and what I don't like about today's game without shitting on it. And I can also give props to guys who, changed the way they play and they evolved and they learned how to take advantage of the system, pimp the system, basically. So props to those guys. Kristaps, he got like sick in March, some sort of weird sickness virus or whatever, and it's been having lingering effects. And like I was saying earlier, Dre, somebody on Twitter that I saw earlier, they said that the only thing they could think of is like he got some flu from the Monstars and it totally just zapped his ability to play basketball. And that's the only thing I could think of as well, simply because there's no reason why this guy should be as bad as he is right now. There's just no reason. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like it's one thing to have lingering effects of a virus and have low energy, but it's a whole nother thing where your basketball IQ goes with it, you know? So we shall see. Um but yeah, NBA basketball has been it's been on point this year. Giannis also officially, unofficially asked for a trade, didn't ask for a trade, is exploring his options, whatever, whatever. So I mean, it is what it is. What can you do? Um, we pretty much kind of saw the writing on the wall when they got eliminated, and Dame was already hurt, you know, because Dame tore his Achilles in that series. And now, basically, what that means to me is that he's going to be out for all next year. He and Tatum both going to be out for all of next year. It changes things dramatically for the Bucks because they've lost in the first round 3 consecutive years, if I'm not mistaken. Just winning the title, or the last 2 years, I know for sure. But Giannis wants to win more titles. He's already 30. His next best teammate is 35 and is out for the year. They're very top heavy with their salaries, so they can't really bring anybody in free agency wise. They don't have hardly any first round draft picks left because of all the trades that they've made to try to improve that team around him. So the Bucks are really in a rock and a hard place because they can't really improve the team. And their best tradable asset right now is Giannis. So what do you do when your franchise guy wants out, basically? Giannis allegedly wants to stay in the East. There's all kind of reports and stuff like that. Stay in the East. Windhorse actually made a really good point saying the two Texas teams with the Spurs and the Rockets present two of the most intriguing options because of a business standpoint of no state income tax. However, I believe Florida does not have state income tax either. So there's that. He could try to go to the Heat and see if that might work out some kind of way. No, Florida does not have state income tax. So there you go. So I would say the Heat would definitely be involved in that, or they could be, or try to be, just to see how that might work out for them. But I mean, Rockets, Spurs, Heat, I would say still. I'm not sure if Milwaukee will keep him in the East though, in order to try to not have to face him in the playoffs or whatnot. But they're also probably going to look for the best situation. And it seems as if it's going to be a thing where they kind of work together to find him somewhere, just like supposedly the Suns are going to do with KD this offseason. So we'll just have to, again, wait and see what happens. But other things of note that have taken place, the NFL schedule dropped today. And I love the schedule when it drops and everything else. And I just want the schedule to drop. You know, I get tired of the leaks and well, these are their home and these are their away opponents, or these are their opponents for that year. Like, first you find out who they're playing the following year. And then the next rollout is their home and away games for the following year. And then you start seeing leaks of who might get potential primetime games and like Christmas, Thanksgiving, certain little things like that, right? Overseas games and all of that. And then every so often you'll see like leaks on the schedule when teams are playing, rematches and stuff like that. And then you finally get the full rollout of the schedule. I miss the days when the schedule would just come out. We didn't have all this rollout of this and the premiere of that and the blah 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 blah. Just drop the damn schedule. Enough with all the hoopla and the hype and everything. And I get it; it's a thing, and it keeps people interested. But I just wish that they would just do like the little social media videos that they do. Like they say, okay, this is the day that we're going to drop the schedule, and just let everything roll out on that day, and let the teams do their social media thing where they drop these little creative ways to do their schedule and stuff. Um, and that's the reason why I put on my Saints stuff again, because not only I have something to celebrate because Derek Carr is no longer a Saint. And like I said last night on Gresh Unleashed, follow us at Gresh Unleashed on all your social media platforms. Uh, every Tuesday, like 6:15, 6:30 our time, 7:15, 7:30 Eastern time. But I saw the Saints drop their schedule, and New Orleans, native comedian Rob Kazi was their special guest, and he was basically like the coach translator for Kellen Moore. And Kellen Moore would give the coach press conference PC answer, then Rob would give like the angry coach, like what I really mean answer. So pretty funny. I saw earlier, I think the Chargers had a really creative one. One of the better ones was the 2023 schedule revealed by the Tennessee Titans. That video has been circulating again. That one was pretty funny, where they were in the city of Nashville talking to different tourists and people and stuff. Every year, teams come out with some creative ways to reveal their schedule. The Texans recreated the Budweiser was they recreated that with a bunch of Houston-born celebrities and whatnot. So there's always something funny and creative that these teams do with their schedule reveals. If we were to just get a day where, I mean, hell, even schedule it like Titans are going to do this, or just everybody drop it on that day at some point or whatever, without all the extra rollout stuff, I like that. But I mean, it is what it is. It gets people excited, and so we're going to kick off the season with the Eagles hosting the Cowboys, and I love that they're putting this game to kick off the season. Season kickoff. The season always kicks off with the Super Bowl winner at home against whoever, right? I love that it's the Eagles and the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have to go to Philly and watch all the pomp and circumstance of the Eagles winning another title. So I don't know, man. I love when that kind of stuff happens. Also, week 2, there's the matchup, the Super Bowl rematch of the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be a 3:30 game on Fox. I'm wondering why that wasn't the Sunday night game that week. That would have been kind of creative to have that Sunday night game. But I mean, it gets the 3:25 kickoff on Fox. So there you go. I mean, you got the only games that's going to give you competing with it is Broncos at Colts and Panthers at Cardinals. So it is what it is. Cowboys got no heart. Hey man, listen. If that O line is rebuilt and they can get a run game going, if that O line is rebuilt and they can run, and Pickens proves to be an adequate number 2 receiver, which he has a lot on the line to play for because he wants to hit free agency and see how he gets paid. So he has every incentive in the world to be on his best behavior and come in there and cooperate with everybody. Like, it's gonna be a good thing to see like what they're gonna do and how all of this is gonna play out. So I wouldn't, and mind you, Dre is a Cowboy fan. So he's not like an Eagles, Giants, or Redskins fan. I'm still calling them Redskins sometimes, Commanders. So that's going to pick us will be interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has every incentive in the world to come in and be on his best behavior and make sure that he balls out so that way he can get the type of money that he's looking for on his next contract. Probably won't be from the Cowboys, but I mean, hey, teams every year got money and they got money to spend and they have to spend to a certain percentage of the salary cap. So, every year there's teams out there that has money to throw away. So go get your paper, but in order to get it, you gotta be on your best behavior. You got to produce. So that's always going to be interesting to see what happens there. Derrick Henry also signed a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Ravens with about $25 million guaranteed. So props to him for getting a new deal done over there in Baltimore. And just seeing what that team was able to do last year, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing like how all of this is going to play out and whatnot. We'll dive more into the schedule and probably look at it a little bit more as time goes on and time permits. But right now, it's just been so much good NBA playoff basketball happening, and we got the WNBA starting up as well. So I'm real interested to see that. A little bit of WNBA news. There's been a lot of these where teams draft these players, sometimes even been first round picks in their way. And it's simply because there's not enough teams in the league to support as many players as they have. And a lot of the times there's players that's already active in the league and on these rosters that sometimes these rookies, for whatever reason, like the team is just like, hey, it's beneficial to us to keep this player over this player. So you end up waiving draft picks and cutting draft picks and whatnot. And as crazy as it may sound, it happens every single year. And Keyz and I have been vocal about this the last, I want to say at least 2 to 3 years, roughly, of why is this consistently happening in the WNBA. And we're glad that they're getting the attention that they're getting now, and that they're also starting to see more streams of revenue coming in. The Unrivaled League has been good for a lot of the ladies to make some extra money and stuff on and have to stay over here and not have to go overseas and play. So that's always good. But I don't know, man. I wish that, people who say they support really do the supporting. And the people who have so much to say online about, well, they should get this and they should get that. Well, are you supporting? Are you watching? Are you buying merch and whatnot? Because it's always funny for all these people to have so much to say about, this, that, and the third. I'm just using the WNBA as an example because that's what we're talking about right now. But this goes across different platforms. I know in wrestling we talked about it with a lot of the cuts that WWE just made, and Gresh and Highlight were informing me because I forgot that NXT contracts, they only have a 30-day no compete, whereas main roster contracts have a 90-day no compete. So that's why, for example, Jakara Jackson, she said June 1st, she's back out in the streets or whatever. And also, I remember back in the day, Gresh reminded me that Aleister Black, they did not convert his contract over to a main roster contract when he got called up. So when his contract ran out, he only had 30 days no compete. Bam, AEW bound. It is what it is, man. So that's on them for messing stuff up like that. But no, it's just when people have so much to say about stuff like this, and then they talk about the WNBA, the league, and what these ladies should get and deserve, and all this other stuff. But are you watching the games? Are you really tuning in? Are you interacting with their posts and stuff on social media? Are you commenting and liking, subscribing things on YouTube and whatnot? Are you really doing all of that? And for as much as we like to keep up with things, I actually try to watch some of these games and watch some of the preseason exhibition games and stuff like that. I'll actually try to go and see what they're doing and try to catch some of these regular season games and whatnot. And that's why I have, the other I keep two TVs in one of these rooms, either my room or my living room or something, so that way I can keep an eye on something else. I may even have something on my iPad or something like that. But I try to keep an eye on things as much as possible, and really like show up and support, because there's so many times where people say they do that, and it's like, do you really? Like, are you really supporting these people? Are you really doing everything that you say you're gonna do, or like, standing up for the cause that you so vocal about? Or are you just doing that for clicks and engagement posture? So we shall see. But moving forward, I want to see what those ladies can do if that league gets more revenue and more stability. They can be more, actually get some profitability and go from there. But yeah, man, that was kind of crazy to see that. But going back right real quick to the NFL, the whole Derek Carr situation with the Saints and him opting to retire, instead of having surgery and whatnot, um, really did them a solid, because it freed up 30 million in cap space. He promises he won't go after him. They won't. He won't go after them. They won't go after him. Nobody. Everybody shake hands, walk away. No hard feelings. It is what it is, right? Now it puts them in a kind of precarious position, but that's probably the main reason why they took Tyler Shook with their second round pick, was to have somebody that can come in and compete with Spencer Rattler for the starting quarterback job for this coming season, since Carr was either not going to be able to be there, be hurt, or what have you. And it just created a situation where it kind of caught some people off guard. People were wondering, why couldn't he have done this before, and so on and so forth. Listen, it is what it is. It helps clear up one of the bigger salaries on the roster. Helps free up some cap space and whatnot. Um, let's just see what he can do. What that team can do now moving forward. That kind of clears off some of that big cap space, and then hopefully they can make some more adjustments and whatnot, and be a player in free agency this coming season, this coming off season. But as far as their prospects are looking this season, it's not looking good, because you got guys with little to no experience, starting. And the one that has the most experience, he got, Spencer Rattler, he got experience under the worst circumstances and conditions. He's getting blocked for by and throwing the ball to guys that were like on practice squads the week or 2 weeks before. So when your offensive line and your wide receivers are, guys that were playing football regularly the week or 2 weeks prior, like that's not easy to come in as a rookie fifth round pick quarterback, and you're like the third quarterback to start games for your team that year. So the team had a lot of injuries and whatnot. They were 5-12. It is what it is. That's why they tried to shore up the offensive line and whatnot, to see what they can do by picking Kelvin Banks at number 9. It's time for them. Like, that experiment has flown the coop. Like, I don't even know if he's gonna be there. To be honest with you, I can't remember if they. I think he's still on the roster, but I don't. That whole Taysom Hill at quarterback. That was more of a gimmick thing to me than an actual viable solution. To be perfectly honest with you, because when you see a guy like a Jalen Hurts shows the capability to run the ball and be super effective running, but also, oh, hold on, I gotta. My bad. I thought I had the charger for the laptop plugged in. I got that little alert just now pop up on the screen that said, "Hey, basically, hey, your battery, your laptop about to die, bro." So I thought I had the charger plugged in, but I didn't. So I plugged it in, and was like, "Well, why is it not charging? I don't see it charging." It's not plugged into the wall. That's why. So there's my technical difficulty for this week. I told y'all every week is some sort of technical difficulty. Y'all should have been there last week though on Gresh last Tuesday. So I think it was last Tuesday or Tuesday before last. Anyway, it was one of them Tuesdays. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I can't hear nothing. Like, I don't hear nothing in my headphones, and I know everything's plugged in and everything. What's going on in my headphones? I forgot the headphones have a volume button on them. That was turned down. So I was totally clueless as to what was going on, man. Like, I was out of it. I was like, what the fuck is this? But anyway, man, yeah. So, but I don't think that they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be in a similar situation to some other teams that are just kind of in flux right now at the quarterback position, and they're just kind of looking for their guy. Like, what's funny is the Colts brought in Daniel Jones to compete with Anthony Richardson. You got a guy like a Cam Ward who got drafted #1 overall and is going to get every chance to start for the Titans. They just drafted Will Levis in the second round a couple of years ago. He hasn't really stood out or anything like that, but it'd be interesting to see like what happens if Ward isn't picking up on it, or if Levis somehow finds his way this season or this offseason and it kind of gives him a run for his money. But the most interesting quarterback room is probably going to be in Cleveland, where you got the aging journeyman veteran Joe Flacco. You got Kenny Pickett, who they traded for. They drafted Dylan Gabriel in the third, and then they drafted Shador in the fifth. That is, and Deshaun Watson's out for the season, of course. So that's clearly easily the most interesting quarterback room in the league right now. So I'm really interested in seeing some of those kind of quarterback battles and whatnot that's going to go on this year. Also seeing what the Bears have done to kind of help Caleb Williams out, and what the Panthers have done to try to help out Bryce Young. The Texans retooled their offensive line, so to see what that's going to look like in front of CJ Stroud. They have a new offensive coordinator. Just looking around the league, like also Geno Smith with the Raiders, to see what that looks like with Pete Carroll at the helm there. So I'm kind of like, just it's interesting to say the very least. It's very, very interesting. And I just want to see like how everybody's looking and what everybody does and how it actually plays out this year. Because one thing that I will tell you, I know for a fact that there's a lot of times when people feel a certain way about a guy, or they want that person to be their guy for their team. They want it so badly, but the person just isn't producing. And I think that happens every year. And I think that we're going to get more and more people that are going to feel that same way, where their team just doesn't, whoever it is, like they just aren't that guy. Like I remember when the Saints drafted Marcus Davenport, and I wanted him so badly to be the next Cam Jordan. He just wasn't. I remember when Trent Richardson came into the league and what he did with the Raiders and Colts and everything. I was just like, damn, man, I really thought Trent Richardson was going to be good. I remember Tim Couch, Achilles Smith, and all of them, Donovan McNabb, that quarterback class, and Donovan McNabb ended up outlasting them all. And Philly didn't even want McNabb, and he did great things for them, So just to see stuff like that happen every year in the league is always interesting to me. When teams have a draft pick or a rookie, especially at quarterback or another position where he's supposed to take over or do something special, and they either live up to it or they don't. And then every year you get those guys that get drafted later on in the draft or undrafted free agents or what have you, and they're a revelation because nobody ever saw them coming. So those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing. And just rookie mini camps, I don't put too much stock in it. Like I know some Cleveland fans were kind of upset that their first round draft pick, what's his name? The kid from Michigan, the defensive tackle. I can't even remember his name right now. I gotta try to look it up. But Mason Graham. He was seen like not really looking very fluid, doing drills, throwing up, and everything else. And so I know a lot of people were kind of like poo-pooing that draft pick and whatnot. And he didn't have that much production when it comes to other guys that you can compare him to that got drafted high as defensive tackles and whatnot coming out. But just gotta wait and see, man. Obviously, they saw something in him to say we're going to spend this, pick on him, and they traded out of the number 2 spot to get more draft picks. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm really looking forward to that, as always. One of the bigger, more underrated news stories that dropped this week. Well, last night, before I get to that baseball, but last night, MLB had 3 walk-offs. Really, they had 4. 3 of them occurred within like a 6-minute span. Between the Dodgers, I believe, the Astros, and the Cubs, I want to say. All 3 teams had walk. It was the Cubs, the Astros, and somebody else. Maybe been the Yankees. All 3 had walk-offs within like back to back. Like, I mean, like literally within the same 5-6-minute span. And then, like about an hour or so, 2 hours after that, Fernando Tatis hit a walk-off for the Padres. So it was a crazy night last night in baseball. Like, I was just like, what the hell? Like, seeing that, and then like you'll see walk-off, and like, wait a minute, I thought I just saw that. No, it was a whole different team. It was 3 different teams that had them like back to back to back. And then later on, Tatis did it for the Padres. So that was really crazy. But we get into that point in the MLB season where you're starting to see like some teams are just really good and some teams just really aren't. And you got certain divisions where you can see the race is probably going to be tight all year. And then you got some where it's like, okay, it may not be that close, and these teams may pull away. Like the AL West, for example, the Mariners are in first, but everybody is within 5.5 games. The last place team, the Angels, is within 5.5 games of first place. And we've always seen teams every year in baseball, they were like 5, 6, 7 or whatever games back at one point in the year. They get hot, go on a tear, and the next thing you know, they're right there, leading the division or what have you. So I just say stand by, wait and see, and just keep watching it play out. But the first 4, the other 3 teams in that division, they're only 1 or 1.5 games back. The A's, the Astros, and the Rangers are 1 game, 1.5 games respectively behind the Mariners for first place in the AL West. So that division is still like really, really, really tight. The NL West is also crazy just because the Dodgers have a half-game lead right now over the Padres. That could change. The Cubs have a 1-game lead over the Cardinals in the NL Central. And the Mets have a 2.5-game lead over the Phillies in the East. I already talked about the AL West. In the AL Central, the Tigers have a 3.5-game lead over the Guardians. Shout out to AJ Hinch because he's proven that he can manage anywhere as long as he has decent talent. And then in the AL East, the Yankees have a 3.5-game lead over the Blue Jays. So a couple of teams, like they're already getting something going, and they're already trying to pull away with it. Bro, the A's, they consistently, and this is the thing with Oakland, they will consistently draft well, they'll develop their players and whatnot, they'll look good for a little while, and then they won't pay them, don't want to overextend themselves, and either trade them away for more prospects or lose them and then get compensatory draft picks. That's their MO. And it's like you get these cycles with the A's where they'll be really, really good for a little while because they got the right group of talent coming up all at the same time. And then they won't pay them. And they trade them away or what have you, and then they restock in the coffers of the minor leagues. It's cyclical with them. And we've seen this over the last like 2+ decades, damn near. Like this is just the way Oakland does business. And then with them moving to Vegas and getting a new stadium and they're having this transition period and whatnot, like this is really odd for them right now because you would want to go into that situation with a really good team, and they're not doing it right now. And hopefully, by the time that stadium is ready in Vegas, I think it's like 2027, maybe something like that. Hopefully, by the time that stadium is ready, that team is ready as well. They're the Rays of the West Coast. Yes, exactly. The Rays, the Marlins. You can either one of the two Florida teams. You can say that about because they do the exact same thing. Draft well, get talent up, get good, don't pay them, trade them, or lose them for nothing and get compensatory picks. Like that. That's their MO. So they have that cyclical thing that they have going. But the main reason why I wanted to bring up MLB was not just because of the crazy night that they had last night and just like some of the way these interesting races are already starting to form in these divisions, like I just went over, but MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred actually posthumously reinstated not only Pete Rose, but also Shoeless Joe Jackson, making both guys Hall of Fame eligible. So it's about goddamn time that happened, especially with Pete Rose. And the main reason why it's significant is because it makes both guys Hall of Fame eligible. Now, Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of the main figureheads of the 1919 Black Sox scandal, where they threw the World Series, gambling, point shaving or whatever you want to call it. So he's long since passed away and was not eligible for the Hall of Fame and was clearly one of the better players in that era. But Pete Rose was notoriously banned from baseball. I believe it was by Bart Giamatti when he was the commissioner back then, for supposedly gambling on Cincinnati Reds games that he was a manager. Time has passed, and now gambling's more widely accepted, and they all have partners and stuff like that. So it just seemed a bit hypocritical for them to keep him out when now you actually support and are sponsored by gambling websites and entities and you partner with them and whatnot. You take revenue in from this specific thing, that reason why it just seems hypocritical. But for the leading hit guy with the most hits in Major League history to not be in the Hall of Fame because of something he did as a manager, I just find that and it speaks to baseball's, just the way that they do things and the way that they handle their business, man. I don't really like it. I don't cut for it. I can't stand it. And it's all because they have this like sanctimonious, like, better than everyone, like this air about themselves. And I'm glad a lot of that is finally starting to be, extinguished and weeded out and whatnot. And I hope a lot of these old fogies, like, they just get put out the pasture and they get these guys out of there as far as the Hall of Fame voting is concerned, because Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame because of the stain of PEDs has on their respective careers. It's crazy. I don't really like or care for the way that they vote on the Hall of Fame and whatnot. And some of the people that they have voting on it, I just think it's stupid. Simply because the way they feel as though like they hold the game in such this high regard, but it's like the game itself and the people who run it willingly and knowingly, openly show bias when and where they feel like it. And just the hypocrisy, like Dre just said, that just the hypocrisy of it all is enough to just piss you off, When all show and didn't even take a sip of my drink till I started talking about MLB and their hypocrisy. But it just pisses me off that much because I hate the way that MLB runs and operates and some of the people in and around it. Perfect example. He's talking Jeff Passan writing a puff piece on Bregman now because he plays for the Red Sox. Exactly. When he was an Astro, he was a great player and everything else, but it was because he played for those cheating Astros that he couldn't say anything about it. Now he's with the Red Sox. Oh, great guy. He's rediscovered his, reworked his swing, and he's playing MVP baseball and blah, 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 blah. Where was that same energy a few years ago when he was doing the same thing, but he was in the Houston uniform? Exactly. Like, why was stuff about the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, and all those other teams that were cheating and caught cheating and reminded and everything else? Why was all that stuff redacted? Why did it have to take an act of Congress to get those papers, published? And then you didn't see everything. It was a lot of stuff that was redacted from those papers. So just a lot of the way MLB moves and operates is way too cheesy, phony, and hypocritical for me, and I don't like it. The sad part about it is that Pete Rose, passed away last year, so he's not even going to be around to see it or enjoy it. And it's just sad, man. It's really sad. And baseball turned a blind eye to PEDs, and they don't want to put Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds in because of the stain that their careers had with MLB. And both of those guys, before they even had any PED allegations or scandals or anything like that, they were already Hall of Famers before all of that. They just sealed and cemented their legacies, with the alleged use of PEDs. So if I take Barry Bonds as just his career, like before, the whole PED scandal and stuff, he could have retired right then and there, Hall of Fame. Same thing with Roger Clemens, Hall of Famer. After the allegations and everything came out, and the home run records and all that kind of stuff, and another Cy Young for Clemens, I believe, that's when it was like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are cheaters. Call it what you want, but MLB was complicit in all of this because they turned a blind eye to it until it was something that, maybe we shouldn't. Oh, Andy Pettitte as well. One of the greatest postseason pitchers in MLB history. Not in the Hall of Fame because of the PEDs. Like, let's just stop being hypocritical, baseball writers, and put all of these guys in the Hall of Fame. If you want to put an asterisk next to their name when you check that box or whatever on that ballot, that's fine. But I just feel like MLB would do better if they just acknowledged it. And if you want to, hell, put up a damn exhibit in the Hall of Fame and talk about that era of baseball and say how home run numbers spiked and whatnot because y'all turned a blind eye to it, like embrace it in some way, shape, or form instead of trying to just act like it didn't happen or it didn't matter. Because when you try to act like it didn't happen or it didn't matter, but then you do things like keeping these guys out of the Hall of Fame, it just really shows your hypocrisy. So I definitely wanted to get that out there. Hopefully, the Baseball Writers Association of America does the right thing and puts Pete Rose, Phil Jackson in. I prefer it happen, this next coming Hall of Fame cycle. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Go ahead and let those guys in. Put Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte, put those guys in. What's his name? Rafael Palmeiro, like he probably deserves to be in there as well. Like, just stop it, man. Stop with the sanctimonious bullshit that y'all do. Because y'all ain't no better than nobody else. Y'all got y'all faults and stuff too. So why are we sitting up here acting like, these other people shouldn't have what they have or shouldn't be doing anything just because y'all decided, oh, you know what? You don't like this, blah, 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 blah. Call it the Bud Selig wing of the Hall of Fame. I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, man. I love that. But yeah, man, like, baseball, just get over yourselves, man. Get off the bullshit. Stop it. You are not. Y'all ain't that guy no more, man. Y'all not America's. You can say you're America's favorite pastime, but we love football and basketball more than we love y'all. And soccer is taking over. Hell, lacrosse. Shout out to Dre in Colorado Drake. Lacrosse is about to come up. Baseball, y'all getting left behind, bro. Anyway, man, this has been episode 75 of Sucio Sports, presented by Gel Blasters and Inplay Dogs. For my brother Keyz, I'm Jermaine. We'll holler at y'all next week.